Good morning, High Point. I am Marcy, and I am excited to share with you a little bit of what stood out to me in Matthew 17. When I read this chapter this morning, there were three stories that stood out to me as almost having like a recurrent theme, and I want to share that. Those three stories are the transfiguration on the mountain, the healing of a demon-possessed boy, and the paying of the temple tax. So what I think is kind of the recurrent theme of those three stories is the disciples trying to act on their own power, own knowledge, own ability, own wisdom, instead of seeking God first. So when we look at the transfiguration, there's Jesus with Moses and Elijah, and immediately Peter wants to build a memorial. This is really what had been done throughout the whole Old Testament. Whenever there was a moment of significance, they'd build a memorial. And that's exactly what he wants to do. But God says in verse 5, "This is my dearly loved son who brings me great joy. Listen to him." He's saying this is not a time for action. This is a time to be present and a time to listen. In the healing of the demon-possessed boy, the disciples had already tried to heal him, and they weren't able to do so. Jesus comes in, heals the boy, and tells the disciples that basically they didn't have enough faith. And then in the paying of the temple tax, what really was interesting to me is that the tax collectors asked Peter, "Doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax?" And instead of going to Jesus to find out what he would say to that or whether he planned to pay the temple tax, Peter just answers, "Yes, he does." And so in each of those, the disciples acted on their own without first seeking God. But what's really interesting to me is that Jesus took care of them through it all. So when God's booming voice comes down and talks about listening to Jesus, "This is my dearly loved son," the disciples fell to the ground, and Jesus touches them and says, "Get up. Don't be afraid." So he took care of them. When they weren't able to heal the demon-possessed boy, Jesus takes care of it. He does the healing. And then he teaches them that their faith doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be as small as a mustard seed for them to have action. And then in the paying of the temple tax, before Peter even says anything, Jesus knows what he said, and he takes care of it. He pays it for both him and Peter by telling Peter to go find the fish that has the coin in its mouth. So what I really get from this is that I so often try to act or think I know what I should do in a situation based on my own knowledge, my own power, limited as it is, my own abilities. And really what I need to be doing is asking God, what do you have for me in this situation? What should I do? Even if it seems like I know what I should do. So that's what I got from it. I'd really love to hear what you took from this chapter. And I hope you have a really wonderful and blessed day.